Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Weighing In. I'm David Mirikitani, joined by the normal crew, Mark Ostrander, Grant Turner, special guest host of me today. Did some announcing with me last night, Jason Keck. We are brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Lot to get to today, but Mark, top of the show, the next 60 seconds are yours. Go.
Yeah, my brother's son, Grayson, they had twins about 2.5 months ago. And Axel and Vaughn had open heart surgery yesterday and pulled through it like a champ. He's still on a ventilator. He's in a self-induced coma for 24 hours, but everything looks good right now. He's got a scar from, the top of his chest all the way down to his belly button, but he's going to be a stud. So just a shout out to him and to Jim and to Grayson and Axel and Molly, his, Grayson's wife. Prayers are with him, and big shout out for a 3-month-old on weighing in.
There you go. So, and anybody that goes through that is probably going to be a savage for the rest of their life and have a huge contribution to the world. So good for him. Happy birthday to the Marines. Their birthday was this month, I think 247. So probably the same time period as Ostrander. And then, happy Veterans Day. Veterans Day was yesterday. We are all involved at various levels in doing work to support our veterans and all always believe in what they do so that people like us can debate and do all these different things and have our freedom. So we like to have fun on the show, but it's important to have a serious thank you to those men and women that serve. So anyway, let's start with recruiting. GT, you were the winner of the wing bet. Jesse Mendez to Ohio State. They now have the top 3, Feldman, Bouzakis, and Mendez. I think the obvious statement is they're probably going to be pretty good. What do you think about that recruiting class, Grant?
I think, once again, anytime you can get some proven talent like those guys, you're going to be set up for success. And once again, I don't want to say rebuild, but I definitely think with a young core like that, you're going to have an influential core group of guys in order to like bring in on recruiting trips and, really start that nucleus over. Super excited for the Ohio State guys. Those are really talented, proven athletes. So, much love to those guys and looking forward to seeing those guys compete in the near future.
And off air, you won the wing bet. You picked Mendez to Ohio State. Some nice work with your memes and gifs or gifs, whatever they're called. Yeah. So well played. Mark, TJ Stewart goes to Virginia Tech, and Christian Carroll changed his commitment from Illinois to UPenn. So and the TJ Stewart might have a trickle down effect, which we'll talk about. But when those two guys hit, you were one of the best recruiters in the game. What do you think about those guys?
Yeah, Christian Carroll, we had talked about Illinois, what they had to do when Poeta took over the program. And I think he's done a good job recruiting. It hurts to lose a Christian Carroll, obviously, because he's going to be very, very good. He's just a half a step behind, Feldman, I think, because I saw him wrestle in Who's number one?
Yeah.
And it was a great match. It really was. It could have went either way. So it's too bad that they lost him. Pennsylvania with the RTC out there and having Burroughs and having Mark Hall. I think that probably kind of swung his way to go out there because he wants to be an Olympian. So, where else would you go? And Stewart at Virginia Tech just keeps getting good kids. I don't care what anybody says. The recruiting classes, they do a really good job down there recruiting. And I know Ohio State is blowing the roof off this recruiting class coming up. And, last year they got the number 1 guy also. So, in Patty Gallagher. So, he's young. They're going to be really good with, the guys that they have in there right now. And they've got some young studs. So in, 2 or 3 years, they're going to be, I think, another Penn State. I think they're going to have that kind of a team. It's going to be hard to beat them, with the talent that they're getting.
Well, they got your guy Karchla there too. So Jason, you and I are obviously Missouri guys. TJ Stewart is really good friends with Gabe Arnold. Gabe is at Wyoming Sem and his dad's down in Atlanta, but they originally are Columbia, Missouri people. I talked to Phil, his dad, about his recruiting and, got the list and they're going to make their decision relatively soon. What do you think about that, or maybe the impact of the RTC, the Penn RTC, on getting some of these guys to come in? Because they're making big moves over there. Penn had a good recruiting class, and it feels like Brandon Slay and Roger Rayner are making moves.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the location of where the Penn RTC is makes a huge a difference. I know that there's athletes, within an hour or two away on the East Coast that are going over there and training with Mark Hall, McKenna, guys like that. So I think that it makes a interesting recruiting aspect of it. Is athletes, obviously the top tier kids want to train with those type athletes, and they've got athletes to continue and rest after college. So things on those athletes early and as a part of their college process, then I think it's going to be a huge benefit for those kids.
Yeah, for sure. There's going to be a truckload of announcements coming in the next 2-3 weeks, and obviously we'll react to them. We're talking to Gabe about having him come on Matt Chat Live, and then let him use the platform at USA Wrestling. I want to give a quick shout out to Joe Wedra. He's taken over here as the guy that puts our podcasts up. And Joe is like the Doogie Howser of wrestling, like graduated from high school and college early. Big fan of wrestling, has been doing a great job getting us on the air. And he's working on making that a possibility as well. So shout out to Joe. It's always smart to shout the guy out to make sure you get on schedule on time too. So anyway, a couple of things that happened at 125 that we should probably talk about before we get to the new ones. Manchio beat Latona over the weekend, which is a huge win. And then, and this is my fault, when we covered 125, I dismissed Drew Hildebrandt, saying that because I had read that he said he was out. Now there's rumors that he's coming back. There's one rumor that he's actually enrolled at Penn State. So to circle back to 125, GT, if you want to go first, what do you think about the Latona or Manchio getting a big win over Latona? Obviously, it's early in the year, but what do you think about that?
I mean, Latona was the number 2 seed at the NCAA tournament last year. So, I mean, This is a big swing, right? So once again, guy beats a proven talented young athlete. So it's like, it definitely plays into the factor of, the dynamics of that weight class moving forward. So that guy's now on the radar of a lot of guys. And I mean, Latona's a beast. So, I think it's a great solid win to start the season.
Yeah, and some of the things people don't think about in terms of rankings and seedings, because rankings obviously are not the same as seedings, but they tend to mirror them fairly well. Like I remember one year, and you guys should probably remember the year when Cologne pinned Tony Ramos at Midlands, right? And I remember talking to Mark, because we would do sort of our unofficial stuff back then. I'm like, Cologne might end up being the number 1 or 2 seed at nationals, because I don't think he's going to lose the rest of the year. I don't think Ramos is going to lose the rest of the year. And if Ramos cleans out the Big Ten, Cologne's going to be above everybody in the Big Ten. Those are those connector matches. So those are important things to keep in mind, because if Manchio can have a clean slate for a while, he's going to move way up. One of the things we talk about when we do rankings is, if I'm the number 20 guy and Grant's the number 6 guy and I get a win, what do you do with that? Do I go all the way up to 6? Does Grant come down to 21? Do we meet around 13? Do you just maybe drop Grant a couple spots and move me up a couple spots? And there's no right answer, right? There's no right answer. In a seeding meeting, the next day, there's a right answer. If Grant was kicking my tail 14-0 and I reached back and pinned him, I'm the number 1 seed. But that's not how rankings work. And so you'll see when we get into some of these rankings that different people interpret the data different ways. I think anybody that's a ranker would say this: I don't want to be responsible for deciding the national tournament. This is food for thought. Like, it's like these lists, these top 100 lists. you know, like it's like documentaries like The Last Dance. People love to talk about them. They create debate, they create conversation, which is good for wrestling. But you're going to see different interpretations. But that is a huge win for Manchio. And the Hildebrand thing, Mark, you and I talk a lot about this Penn State, Iowa thing, like how close it would be. And Jason and I actually had breakfast this morning. We were talking about if Hildebrand comes in, he's probably going to place like 6th, 7th, 8th, you know, and that's 10 points. So Mark, you know, you're a guy that keeps track of that team race. What do you think about, you know, Hildebrand / Suriano / both of them over there at Penn State?
Well, I don't think both of them's going to do them any good. So that isn't going to happen, obviously. So
I wouldn't say that, Mark. They might get them both and see if Suriano is reliable or not. Don't put it on wax that they're both not going to go. I don't want you to have to walk that back. I could see them both doing that.
I don't think it's going to happen, but Soriano would be more of a, I mean, obviously 6th, 7th, or 8th is great, and it gives them points that they aren't getting otherwise. So wherever they get points is going to help them in the long run.
8 to 10 points could make the difference, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. So, you know, we had some changes at 33, and, you know, we're going to talk about that with some guys moving up to 41. And that, you know, there's different philosophies that you look at. Do you want to send a guy up to a weight where you think he might do really, really well? And then you got to put somebody in that weight that he moved out of that may not place. What's the best way to do it? So there's different ways to look at it. So, yeah, I think whoever Penn State gets there, they're only going to bring in somebody that's going to actually place or should place. So that's going to be a big thing for them. But 25, it just keeps getting tougher and tougher. So I don't know.
Yeah. Let's kind of fly through some of these. I think this is most people's favorite part of the podcast, where our faces get smaller and and then the data gets bigger. So you see here, Manchio moved up. You know, he's at 15. Open Mat will have him ranked next week. He slides in behind Heinzelman. They kept Latona above him, which, again, there's a good argument for that. So nothing really major happened there besides that. At 33, and this is interesting. So we were following the data last night. One of Jason Keck's former wrestlers, Trey Crawford, is on the team at Missouri. He's not the starter. He's behind Matthew Schmidt, but he actually beat Kellen March last night, right, Jason?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. There was a close match against North Dakota State, and Crawford pulled out the win last night.
Yeah, Mizzou looked good. They won 37-3. Franek beat JQ. That was the win for North Dakota State. But you see some change here at 33. Now we got Corbin Myers, Chris Cannon, Philippi, Lucas Bird, and McGee. And here's another example where Madrigal beat Lucas Bird. And Lucas Bird still ranked ahead of him. Now, one place didn't do that. Intermat put Madrigal at 9 and Lucas Bird at 10. And, you know, you see this all the time, like in the college football playoff. Like, they got Michigan ahead of Michigan State right now, and they're one slot apart. When you're that close, Mark, you and I always talked about, we feel like head-to-head. If it's 6 and 7, the head-to-head team should be 6 and not 7. You know, same thing with like an Oregon State, Ohio State, or Oregon, Ohio State, in football. And we tend to root for the schools that have wrestling, but you beat somebody head to head and you're one slot apart. It feels like that should be the rule. So really good win.
And you also have to remember, David, that, you know, we had got into this, the years that we did it, you know, many, many times, where you have a guy that's ranked the top 6 or 7 in the country, and he takes a loss. But it's usually after they have 20 matches in, they beat guys that are a bunch of guys that are ranked right below them, and then he has a bad loss. Well, you can do an oops, or you know, we're gonna pardon that one. You know, you know, we talk about it. Not the first tournament of the year that they wrestle and he gets beat. I think you've got to move the guy ahead of him, and so that kind of surprised me.
It's hard because you're still basing it at this early in the season, Grant. You and I have talked about this. You're still basing it on last year's body of work, where Lucas Bird was an All-American and Madrigal, I think, went 1 and 2 at nationals. As we get to January, right, Grant, that means less, and now this year's seasons mean more.
Just have more data selection, right? You've been able to go to a couple of duels, you've been able to wrestle, you've been able to make weight, you're making your presence felt. So yeah, I mean, as the season goes on, you're going to have more and more data points to be able to support your preseason, whatever lofty rankings, because you were good last year.
Yeah.
So then it evens its way out.
So like, for example, I think Madrigal's going to wrestle McGee soon. Oklahoma's going to wrestle Arizona State. So if Madrigal beats McGee, and I'm not saying he will or won't, but if he does, he should go above Bird too at that point. Like, I mean, he should be above both of them, because now you've beaten both those guys head to head. And that's a big move for Oklahoma if they can get another guy in that point, the real points. And we'll reiterate this one more time. 9th without bonus points scores 2 points at nationals. 33rd scores 0. It's not a big difference. The real juice is in that top 8, that 5.5 up to 20 plus bonus. So we go to 41. So this is a fun one to talk about. So now Seabass gets plugged in, Stevan Misa gets plugged in. And so now you see like Adam Demas go from 8 to 9, which is a big, that's the cutoff line. So Jason, I'll start with you. I know you love international wrestling. How do you think Misic's going to do up 16 pounds from where he wrestled at the Olympics?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. He's obviously really good on his feet. I'll be interested to see the top and bottom position moving up from, like you said, from where he was at to 41. I think it's going to be interesting to see if he gets ridden hard, if he can get away from those guys, and what he can do on top. That 4-point bonus, if he can get some turns, or if he's going to basically turn it into, a takedown match.
GT, you're obviously in the college coaching world, and we'll talk about the Grandview Open coming up literally tomorrow, I think. But if you're coaching a guy, obviously he cut a ton of weight to make 25.4, 57 kgs, and he was a national runner-up at 133 and actually probably won the takedown game in the finals of that match. He just got turned early against Seth Gross. I mean, obviously the right guy won. It's not like somebody got cheated or anything, but, I think he was I feel like he's a 33 pounder, but I think they want to get Ragusin in the lineup. He's also an 8th-year senior between all the transfers and the gray shirts and the red shirts and the Olympic red shirts and everything else. So he officially has grown man strength. At this point, you cross over 25, you're in grown man strength. Do you see him as a guy that is in that top echelon, or I'll tell you what I think. I think he's going to struggle a little bit early till he gets up to like 150 and is actually cutting some weight. Like, I think they're going to, get him on some sort of weightlifting quick cycle and try to beef him up. Is that how you see it, or do you see immediate impact kind of thing?
Well, it depends. The Big Ten, if you look at the rankings right there, you got Penn State, Iowa, Rutgers, Michigan, Illinois, Nebraska.
Yeah.
I don't know what Michigan's dual schedule is, but right there, top 6 guys are all Big Ten guys. So,
Yeah.
He's going to have his opportunities as the season progresses. So, I think, to Jason's point, the top bottom wrestling, he probably hasn't been focusing on that for about a year and a half, slowly focusing on his takedown and freestyle, and then also like parterre offense and defense. But Micic is a wrestler, man. Like he'll be just fine, I think. And he's a returning national finalist from, whatever it was, 2003, when he was still wrestling collegiately. But for the team and for him personally, if he's going up to 65 kg,
yeah,
he's making all the right moves for his international career as well.
Yeah, and it gets Ragusin in the lineup, which is a guy that we're all really high on, right? Like Dylan's a goer, and Mark and I really liked him last year, but it felt like the weight cut really hurt him at 25, and it feels like he's perfect at 33. Part of what we try to do is point out some guys maybe to look at that people aren't. Keyshawn Clark is transferred to North Carolina, and it looks like he's really starting to maybe jump levels a little bit. So he's at 13. Dusty Hones at 14. I don't have any inside intel on this, but don't be surprised if Carter Young ends up in the lineup there. I think Oklahoma State's going to make a push for a trophy. He's the kid that crushed it at the U.S. Open, was supposed to go to Northwestern, ends up literally a Stillwater kid. So in backyard. And Andrew Alira, we talked about Mark off air. He just came back from U23s, didn't have a great tournament, was at 65 kgs, 143. Obviously must be making that well because he drops down to 41, which, is kind of going from into the fire. But if he wasn't strong enough to be winning matches at 49, he was a Hodge Trophy winner coming out of high school, the junior Hodge Trophy winner. So he'll make a big impact there, I think, at 41.
I agree. One thing I want to mention, when you look at somebody like Micic at this weight, David, and Grant, I think you've been through it coaching, and I know David's probably been through it, and I've been through it. When you get kids that have been at your school for a while, and they were kind of the face of the program, and all of a sudden you run into the buzzsaw, which is 141 this year in the Big Tens. There's a good chance, David, he could lose 5 matches in the Big Ten. What is that going to do to his psyche being an 8th-year starter? Is he going to say, I don't need this, I'm just going to do freestyle? We don't know what's going to go through his head. Things don't go the way, everybody hopes they do, because that is a big, big jump.
He could also be, and we should shout out because Christian Thompson from fantasygrade.com puts these rankings together for us every week and does a great job. Mark and I are good buddies with him. GT knows him as well, and Keck won one of his contests last year. So we all got love for Christian. But if Stevan Micic loses 5 matches during the year, he might be a real good fantasy pick. Like, you pick a guy who's been an All-American that many times. Guy knows how to peak for big events. 49. So now it gets interesting. Now Tariq is up to number 3. Yaya is up to number 4. Again, I think we would have Yaya 3 because he took 3rd at nationals last year. And as we knew, Muller comes out. Okay. Josh Edmond is in. I don't know where he is in the rankings. We'll scroll down, but Josh Edmond will be a guy that qualifies for nationals. Tremendous upside. Mark, you and I watched him wrestle in Omaha, I believe, where he was just smashing dudes, on his way. He won that. It was the U20s. GT, you would probably know better than I would. That meet in Omaha a couple years ago.
Yep. U23s.
Was U23s, not 20s?
Well, they had both there.
Okay. Well, he was smashing cats there. He's not in the rankings, and he needs to come into the rankings. And then it looks like Bartlett is going to be the starter and not Van Ness for the time being here. So just
can anybody in our group that we're talking about this explain to me how Yanni is not number 1? I just need to get clarification. I mean, he's a 2-time national champ, moving up 1 weight class, and Sammy, who I love watching wrestle, and I think he's really, really good, but he beats people by a point, and he's never won a national title. How is it even done? I guess I don't know what they're doing.
Well,
I take a 2-time national champ that moves up 1 weight, David, that just represented the United States in the Olympics or the world. I mean, I'm sorry, not the Olympics, but in the world.
We got Mark fired up.
Hey,
I don't.
Hey, this is just an Excel spreadsheet, Mark. It's okay, man.
It's wrong. It's wrong. And that's what we're here to talk about.
No, it's a good point. I flew by it. You're right.
I mean, Intermat. Let's just talk about Intermat. And it's great publication. I know it's going through transitions right now. They got their top 50 list out. Has anybody seen that?
Well, wait a minute. Hold on here. There's something wrong here in this document because Intermat, we got him 1, 2, 2, 3. There's a 4 in here somewhere that we missed. So I don't want to, we're not going to harp. I think your point is right. I think most of us would have Yanni ranked ahead, Yanni at 1. Okay. I mean, I know, Mark, you and I would have him at 1. And there's still some debate, like Cornell's putting their stuff on social media. In every weight class, they got 9 guys there with their arms folded up. They got 75 guys on the team, it seems like, so, but it's going to get interesting. But, and Josh Saunders plays in that a little bit because he's, him and Hunter Richard, that thing could go a couple different ways. Like if Yanni can make 41, Hunter Richard's probably better at 49 than Josh. Josh is probably better at 41 if Yanni goes 49. And these are just going to be some things how they play out. But you are right. We'll spend more time on this next week, but we got about 20 minutes left. We still got to get to our picks at 157 or at 197 in heavyweight. Keck's going to jump in on those picks. So 157, not a lot of change. Franek beat JQ's, which is just about right. Like they're ranked 9 and 10. So not anything there. And Kendall Coleman lost early in the year too. So that's why he's not in the top 8. I love this weight class though. I think it's going to be really fun.
I do too. With Wyatt Sheets ranked 14th.
Well, he's going to wrestle he's going to wrestle Brayton Lee in a week. So he's going to have a chance to jump right back into the mix. Yeah. So, all right. I want to make sure we get to 97 and heavy. I just don't want to fly by these. I don't see anything. Keegan O'Toole is doing Keegan O'Toole things, cradling people up and pinning them. Not a lot of change here. I think it's a little disrespectful that Demetrius Romero is 6 when he's coming down a weight, but I don't know. Maybe that's right. 74. So I don't think we just talked about this enough. Mekhi Lewis stopped Vincenzo Joseph from being a 4-timer and did it with a lot of swag. And so it'll be interesting to see. I guess you start him at 3 because I think we all have a recency bias. We watched him out there wrestling with 1 arm, and most people aren't very good with 1 arm. He's a pretty good wrestler with 2 arms. He's under 20 world champion, right? GT, junior world champion.
I believe he was a U23 world champion.
Okay.
So I think he made the U23 team. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
He's a world champion. And they said he'd wrestled like 4 freestyle meets in his life. So, guys, he's not a freestyle expert. The guy's pretty good at folk style wrestling. So, something to keep an eye on there. I mean, I think that top tier, along with Labriola and Hayden Hidley, that's a nice top tier there. I mean, there's a lot of years Hayden Hidley would be the number 1 ranked guy. Aaron Brooks, Hidley, not a lot changed here, and just early in the year. All right, let's get to 97. So, first thing is, Max Dean won a wrestle off against Beard. The rumors are it's really close. I think that's interesting. I think, from a ranking purpose, Max Dean would come in ranked higher. I think if we were ranking Beard, Mark, I think he would come in. I think we would have, after Elam, we would have Darmstead, then Woodley and Brookie, and he would be right in that mix because he took 7th last year, and they would all be above Northfleet because Northfleet didn't place last year, and Buchanan placed last year. So he would be ranked a lot lower, which would impact the team score. So Keck caught up. He watched what we did last week. So we're going to pick our finalists, and we're going to pick our non-top 8 guy to be top 8. As Jason, as my host for the week, and also as the guest, we're going to let you go first. Who you got?
I'll take Rocky Elam as a finalist. And he didn't have a great nationals last year, but I'll take Eric Schultz from Nebraska.
All right. And by the way, Amin should be at 184 here. I mean, I don't know if we missed this, like I meant to talk to. Yeah, he should be. They can't have him and Brookie both ranked here. So I'm going to make a note and highlight this. Okay. So, and who's your non-top 8, Mark? Or Jason, sorry, go ahead.
Eric Schultz.
Who's in the finals with Rocky?
I'll go Ferrari.
So Big 12 final. All right. So you got Rocky and Ferrari in the finals, and you got Schultz as a non-top 8er. That's a sneaky good pick. Mark, age before beauty. You can go ahead of Grant. What you got?
About time you guys realize that.
We just said you're old. You realize what we said?
I thought I was a beauty. I thought I was the beauty.
Age before beauty.
Okay, no, don't worry about it, David. I'll get over it. Until somebody beats Ferrari, the way he wrestles, I just love watching him wrestle. I think there's a lot of guys that could knock him off his ladder, but until it's done, I've got to pick him to be a finalist.
Okay.
Normally, I would take Darmstead, but he hasn't wrestled in 2 years, so I just don't know. So I'm going to go with Eric Schultz. I'm kind of like Jason. I thought he was one of the best 97 pounders last year. He got in a match where he got beat up, and then once you lose that dream of being a national champ, you don't always come out there and compete. I think if he does what he needs to do, I think he could be in the finals. I really do.
And who's your non-top eighter?
Well, that'd be Eric Schultz because he's what, 13th, and I got him in the finals. So
Yeah, but you get another pick.
oh, I get another pick?
We get a non-top eighter as well.
Normally I would take Sloan, but boy, I'll tell you what, when he hits that tournament, it was not good last year.
He was banged
So,
up. He was banged up. He
I'm
was in
gonna
a harness.
take I'm gonna take Cam Caffey. I'm gonna take a shot that he's an All-American.
Okay. All right. GT, now beauty before age. Because I'm going last.
Appreciate that, guys. All right, so I'm going to take Ferrari and Warner in the finals,
Okay.
and I'm taking Schultz because I think he's a beast.
Yeah.
He just had a pretty rough tournament.
Yeah.
Got caught by that, or not caught, but the NDSU guy beat him, and
Pinned him. Yeah.
but I think that guy's got a lot more talent than what was on display last year at the national tournament. Plus, I think he's primed and ready to make a run in that Big Ten tournament too.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take Darmstadt Ferrari in the finals, not necessarily like Darmstadt, because I just want to see that match. I want to see that match so bad. Because I want to see if it's close as Darmstadt picked top. I just want to see him in, like, if Ferrari finishes clean, he probably wins. If they get scrambles, it could be crazy. And I'll take Woodley. It's a coward's pick. Actually, I can't take Woodley because really he should be at 8. Because if Amin comes out, Woodley should be 8. So I'm going to go with Schultz because I think he's the best guy. I mean, I think you guys are right. I think Schultz could make the finals. So, all right. So let's talk about 285. So the top 5 guys here are all world champions at some age group level. Obviously, one are Olympic champion, world champion. But Stevenson, Olympics, Paris was U20, right, GT? Cassiope just won U23s. Kirkfleet was U20s, or yeah, right? And then Colton Schultz is a Greco world champion or age group world champion.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is an interesting weight class. It feels like those guys, along with Hilger, are probably going to be really hard to knock off. Austin Harris had an awesome national tournament last year. Like, he was wrestling Zach Elam, and like I went out and went to the bathroom, and I came back, and somebody was like, Austin Harris pinned Elam. I'm like, oh my God, and then Elam's world cadet, either a cadet or a junior world runner-up. So, I mean, this weight's got a lot of credentials in it. So, all right. So we went Jason first last time, Mark second, Grant third. So Grant, you go first. I'll go last each time. I assume we're all picking Gable. So is anybody not picking Gable to make the finals? Okay. Gable's in the finals. So pick your other finalist and your top 8.
I'm going to take Cassiope for the finalist. And then I don't know if this guy's listed at this weight or not, but he could have been at 97, but I didn't get a chance to look at the whole thing.
Go ahead. Who are we looking for?
Braxton Amos.
He's at 97. I want to change my 97 pick. I think he's a finalist.
So I don't know if he what weight class he was at, but like,
No, where's he ranked?
He's
I
not.
think he's
'cause
nine.
He's ranked number 20.
I take him.
No, the picks are in. The picks
No,
are
I
in.
can change my pick. He's a finalist.
At 97 or heavy?
97.
Okay. All right. Timeout. So GT, you're writing this down. Who are you taking out of your 2 finals, Mark? 2 finals. You're leaving.
I'm taking out Nebraska.
Schultz. Okay.
Yeah.
He has a name. Okay. So so Schultz becomes your non-top 12 guy or non-top 8.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
That's
There
a
you go.
good pick.
Okay.
Anybody else want to change? You can. I already did it.
Yeah. Some of us stick with our convictions, but that's fine. It's a conversation.
You
for another
forgot
day.
about him, though. I did too.
I didn't say I forgot about him. Maybe I'm picking him at heavyweight. Okay. So GT, that's what you're doing. You're picking him as your non-top 8 guy at heavyweight, correct?
Yeah, because I mean, if he's I don't know where he's going to be at. So, I mean, Hilger's probably the guy for heavyweight. So I think Amos is going to have to be the 97-pounder because Hilger's really, really, really good.
Amos has already wrestled 97, Grant, this year.
Who did?
Amos wrestled against Buffalo at 97.
Okay. And I probably just missed that or whatever. So, I mean,
So pick that's fine. You have Gable and Cassiope in the finals. Who's your non-top 8?
All right, scroll back down.
Yep.
So my non-top 8 guy. Okay. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to steal Jason Keck's thunder, and I'm going to take Elam. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, man.
All right. Keck, I assume we already said you got Gable because you're a smart person. So who's your other finalist?
Yeah, I'll take Parrish and as my non-top 8, Jordan Wood.
Okay. Were you going to go Zach Elam or not?
I was going to pick Wood.
Okay. All right. Okay. Mark, who you got?
Too much love.
I got Big Tony be in the finals with Gable. And I got Nathan Traxler to be an All-American.
That's an interesting pick.
I thought so.
Yeah. I mean, but you're allowed to change your mind apparently next week. So
Yeah, well, I'll change it before we leave this pod, but no, I can't change it next week, but I already changed 97, so I want that written down in stone.
Okay. Just to pick somebody different from everybody else in the finals, I'm going to pick Kirkfleet. I'm not sure I'm real. Kirkfleet from Penn State.
To be in the finals?
Yeah.
We need to have a long talk, David.
Okay. All right. If I had to bet, I would bet on Paris. I'm just trying to pick somebody different because I feel like I've been very chalky to this point. So, let's see here. Okay, this is a super crazy pick, but I'm going to go Gas Tank as my non-top 8, Gary Traub. GT, you got a little respect for that?
Yeah, I think he's got a new home, new staff, also in the Pac-12, so that's a good one. And just so we are clear, we never made our picks at 84.
Oh, we got to go back. Okay.
Yeah.
We stopped at 74. All right, thank you.
Can I change heavyweight and take Grant's heavyweight from
If you try to change
Grandview?
one more thing, you're going to get muted.
Hey,
he's huge.
we can do that on another pod as we go through and we have like the Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO picks.
Club, MWCA, California Community College. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do a whole one on that.
We actually are probably the few people qualified for that. All right, we got 7 minutes left, so we got to go. 80, we got to keep it moving. 184. I'm going to go first. I'm going to take Brooks in the finals and
Michigan's there, don't forget.
And Amin. And my non-top 8 is going to be, this is easy. He placed last year, Britt Wilson, because he'll be 9th as soon as they move Amin in there. Okay, Kat, go ahead.
I'll go Brooks and Hidley.
Okay.
And non-top 8 Britt Wilson, returning All-American.
All right. So he's all right. I respect that. So, Mark, I already know you're taking Taylor Venz as your non-top 8 guy.
No, I'm not.
All right.
No, I'm not. Okay. So
Who
you're
you pick?
wrong. I'm taking Aaron Brooks and I'm taking Keck Eisen from UNI to be in the finals.
All right.
I love the way that kid wrestles.
He's
He
a
proved
grinder,
so
man.
much last year as
Yeah.
a freshman. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what jumps he makes this year as another freshman because he gets 2 years as a freshman. And then my non-top 8 guy, I'm going to go with, I know this is going to surprise a few people. I'm going to go with whoever wrestles for Iowa.
Your list is such a mess. All right. We got to keep going. All right. Grant, go ahead. I knew who that you're going to pick. All right. Grant, go ahead.
All right. I'm going to take Brooks and Keckheisen for the finals.
I love you, Grant.
Okay.
I think Keckheisen is a beast. I think he's only getting better with time. And I just think that on that side of the bracket, depending on if he gets a 3 or a 6 seed, depending upon how the whole Big 12 thing shakes out for him,
Yeah.
he could make some serious noise.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take, not listed, I'm going to take Abe Assad as my outside. I think he'll be the guy at 84. And I think
For
he'll.
who?
For Iowa.
Right.
Oh, Iowa. Yeah, whoever wrestles at Iowa. Yeah, that's wrestling.
No, but he actually got specific. So, all right.
So I'm taking, I'm going to take Assad.
All right. We got 4 minutes left. Missouri and North Dakota State. We talked about it last night. Crawford over March. Schmidt was out. Josh Edmond is in. Mahler's out. They're going to redshirt Mahler unless something crazy happens. Grandview open this weekend. GT, make sure you say hi to Nick and the boys. Heard you guys had an old decrepit legend in the room earlier this week. So nice on that. Oklahoma State wrestles Stanford at 5 o'clock Eastern on this weekend. So we said Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. So some potentially really good matchups there, right? Like Griffith and Whitlake, Rio Woods and Hone, Abbas and G-Feller, Traxler and Harris. Probably the 4 big matchups there.
Traxler's at Virginia Tech now.
Oh, that's right. He transferred. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So those are 3 significant matchups there. Okay. Sunday, Appalachian State tournament. Northern Colorado at Missouri is highlighted here. Alirez will probably wrestle Hart or Edmond. If Hart at 41, Edmond at 49, Alirez, Edmond setting the over under at 17.5 in that match if that happens. There'll be sparks flying. And then we will mention this because it's Wednesday and we most likely will record Thursday next week. North Carolina and Nebraska will happen. And that's going to be there's going to be some good matchups in there all along the way. Intermat did their bold predictions, and one of the guys predicted Nebraska to get a team trophy. I'm not sure I see that path just because everybody's so deep this year, but I think they're a lot better than people think they are. So we got about 2 minutes left. Keck, I'll
Can
give
we
you
hit team rankings real quick, David?
I think we'll just cover them next week, because we'll have more data. So Jason, you don't jump on with us every week. Give us your final thoughts either on the week or the season or the pod or anything else you want to talk about.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see Lucas Davidson from Northwestern up at heavyweight. That dude can wrestle, and I think he has a good chance to do really well this year at that weight class. I mean, that weight class is stacked, but that guy keeps putting on muscle, and he's got the ability to wrestle like a lighter weight. So he's kind of my one that I'm interested to see kind of how that progresses through the season.
And I think at one point he actually headlocked Jaden Cox in a freestyle tournament and pinned him. So, his upside's pretty high. So next week is Thanksgiving week. So it's a short week or 2 weeks now. So next week will be normal. Then that Thanksgiving week, I think we're probably going to get a couple guest pickers on and probably do like a mini fantasy tournament where like we have like 5-6 people and you pick 1 through 5 in each weight. And like once somebody picks Spencer Lee, he's off the board. So for Jason, for Grant, for Mark, I'm David. This is my favorite 45 minutes of every week. We thank you guys so much for watching, listening, sharing. Thank you for all the support. We'll see you all next week.